It's a busy day at the state capitol. The House will discuss a number of new issues, including a human services bill and a public safety bill. Ahead of today's session, both the GOP and DFL lawmakers spoke about what's on the table.
This will probably highlight the Democrats' misplaced priorities. We're going to touch on human services bill during this press conference with you, but what is shocking as we've looked over the bill is the lack of funding for nursing homes. The DFL is claiming that they are giving nursing homes the largest amount of funding in state history, but of their $72 billion budget, only 0.01 is actually going to nursing homes. So it sounds to me more of an uninvestment or an underinvestment. As we are looking at that long-term crisis with our nursing homes across the state, this neglect from the Democrats to support our seniors is inexplicable, and we have talked about this since we first came into session, the need to fund our nursing homes. Next, we'll be hearing the public safety omnibus package, and as our Senate colleagues coined it last week, this bill is the get out of jail free card for violent criminals. We have historic rates of violent crime right now in our state, and putting criminals over the safety of Minnesotans is a horrible policy that can't be explained. Minnesotans have the right to feel safe in their communities.
What you'll find is that, well, yes, there are some provisions we don't particularly like in the human services bill. Republicans are not voting no on this bill today because of what's in it. We're voting no on this bill today because of what's not in it. We are voting no because there is almost no funding for nursing homes, and with an $18 billion surplus, the DFL managed to find a whopping $3.9 million for our nursing homes. Now you will hear, and Representative Leader Dameth quoted this or mentioned this, but the Democrat majority in the House tweeted last week, quote, "The House DFL majority is funding nursing homes with the largest amount of funding they've received in history." And this is patently false. This is patently false. They are giving nursing homes $3.9 million. Now, what you will hear today is that there is this historic funding because of forecasted spending. There's about $850 million in forecasted spending for our nursing homes. However, I want to make 2 points about this. Number one is that nursing homes, while that is forecasted, that is not likely what they will actually receive. They will likely receive a much smaller number than that, as is historically true. But number two, I would point out that, we heard the education omnibus bill last week. There is a $1.1 billion forecasted increase in education, and yet no one in this state and no one in that House chamber would ever believe that that was sufficient funding for education, because it's not. Simply going with that forecasted funding is not sufficient to deal with the crisis that our nursing homes are facing.
It's become obvious that public safety is not the focus of the omnibus bill. What it does is, like the Senate pointed out, it's the get out of jail free card. The public safety bill makes thousands of incarcerated felons eligible for early release, reduces sentences for violent offenders, and provides over $100 million to nonprofits with little accountability. The bill ignores the needs of law enforcement officers across the state, and it fails to hold judges and prosecutors accountable for light or no sentences. This bill prioritizes criminals ahead of everyday Minnesotans. This bill puts felons back on the street by allowing criminals to serve over half of their prison sentence or probation if they complete programming. This bill includes violent criminals, including manslaughter, rape, kidnapping, assault, or domestic assault. Limiting time for persons with violent criminal histories puts the rest of Minnesotans at risk. Democrats are choosing to invest $100 million in unproven nonprofits with little accountability on how the money is spent. This funding should go towards law enforcement and not necessarily for extra officers, but through law enforcement who has the street knowledge of what's going on and would know which of these organizations can best use the money, and if it's not being spent correctly or they're not receiving the services that they are paying for, that they would be able to change that funding.
We're going to be approving one of the most historic investment in long-term care. This is a generational investment. What I mean by that is we are investing in PCA program by $890 million in the next 4 years. We're investing $875 million in the next 4 years in the elderly waiver. What that means is for those direct care professionals who are earning $13, they will see a significant increase, more than 30% increase for the PCAs who are going to be earning $19 in 2024. And then they'll be earning $20 in 2025 with also step increases to $22.50. That has never happened before. When elderly waivers are earning $13, they'll be earning $17 an hour so that they can take care of those most vulnerable members in the society. So not only that, we're investing in the long-term care, we're also providing resources for the most disabled individuals. When it comes to home and community-based services, we're increasing by 17% across the board. That's one thing that we have never done in this chamber, in this place. So it's investment in areas that we have never done before. Likewise, we're investing in workforce incentives, workforce training. We understand the industry has been hit hard by the pandemic, by the inflation, but also by the workforce shortage. We have got 52,000 workforce shortage in the healthcare industry, particularly for PCAs. People like Dennis, who lost his life because he could not get a PCA. People like Mary, who wanted us to make sure that we can pay more for the homemaker program, that they will see that increase of 62%. Never heard of. And you'll be hearing more about the nursing homes where we're investing more than $10 million in the critical access facilities, whereby in greater Minnesota, they will be able to take care of more than 550 individuals. Likewise, I think the VBR, the value-based reimbursement in the nursing homes, will have $853 million backed in. I'll give you an example. For a CNA in a nursing home, they're earning right now $19 an hour. In 2025, they're going to be receiving $23 an hour. That's a huge investment that we have never done before, and we look forward to getting it done today.
This is a transformational bill for public safety that positively impacts the safety of every Minnesotan across the state. Our bill provides substantial investments for victims of crime. We have substantial investments for law enforcement. One of the most important pieces we heard from law enforcement groups when they came to the Capitol this year was the need to recruit officers, and our bill does just that. We have important investments here for probation and rehabilitation, areas that have been neglected for years. And every county in this state has approved of the probation formula that we're putting in our bill. Our bill also modernizes our statutes and addresses current crimes. We tackle gun violence head-on in this bill. We have the Extreme Risk Protection Order, also known as the Red Flags Law. We're going to make sure that we have criminal background checks on firearms transfers. These are common sense measures that our constituents for years have been telling us that they want, and we're going to do that today. We also recognize the fentanyl crisis, and we increase penalties for those who are dealing fentanyl. We close a loophole for domestic violence victims, and we create a crime of retail theft. We also recognize that our juvenile justice system is broken, and our bill makes substantial investments in improving our juvenile justice system. We heard in committee from counties around the state who are doing good work, like Yellow Medicine County and the counties in the Rochester area, on restorative justice practices that we're going to provide statewide. We also have a very important investment in violence prevention efforts that both local communities, local governments, and nonprofits in collaboration with their local governments can apply for these violence prevention grants. There is great work being done in community, and we want to make that more available and accessible to prevent violence before it even happens.